The 46-year-old male Green Line T operator was fired for not properly following fitness for duty policies set by the MBTA. It was found that he was working the night shift at another job from midnight to 8 a.m. prior to being found fatigued and inattentive while on duty. City workers are acting quickly to remove waist-high snow piles off of the city streets so that Boston residents can move on with their everyday lives. Co-founders Joel Edwards and Funsho Ojuri say they have been getting a lot of positive feedback and are prepared to continue on with the project until changes are made. Alternative spring break participants like these behind me will be leaving for their destinations on Sunday, March 10th, and will return to Boston on Saturday, March 16th. Jared Pelletier, Suffolk U News. The 46-year-old male Green Line T operator was fired for not properly following fitness for duty policies set by the MBTA. It was found that he was working the night shift at another job from midnight to 8 a.m. prior to being found fatigued and inattentive while on duty. It is just before noon on Thursday. One Green Line trolley stands still at the Boylston Street station, seen here in the silent video routinely being recorded by the MBTA. And then another comes in, doesn't stop, and then this happens. Emily Frachtling was on the train that did not stop.
As we were about to hit it, I realized that that was going to happen, and so I held on really tight to the pole. So I was fine, but a lot of people around me were thrown out of their seats, and everyone was just so shocked afterwards, because it's just, who expects to get into a crash on the T, It's ridiculous.
Within minutes, transit police, Boston police, and emergency service officials arrived to close the station and care for injured passengers. Boston Emergency Medical Services Chief Jim Hooley says passengers received care immediately.
We had about approximately 37 patients who had minor injuries. Probably the most serious one was probably a fractured clavicle, collarbone. We had a few other people complain of neck pain. They had to be immobilized.
A little more than an hour after the collision, the scene up on Boylston Street at Tremont was still littered with medical personnel, police, and the curious. MBTA officials worked quickly below ground to rule out equipment failure as the cause of the accident, and also found minor damage to both trains. The Green Line is the only subway system that currently requires entirely on the driver's capability to bring a train to a complete stop. All other subway lines have safety systems in place to prevent trains from blowing through stop signals. Reporting live on Tremont Street in downtown Boston, Jared Pelletier, Suffolk U News. Back to you, Anush, in the studio. The blizzard of 2013 hit the Boston area hard, forcing businesses to close and weekend plans to be put on hold.
Just trying to keep the kids entertained, and I'm headed to Florida Monday, so as long as my flight's on time, I don't care.
As soon as snow began to hit the ground, workers took to the streets trying to keep roadways and sidewalks clear. By Saturday morning, Boston was buried under 2 feet of snow.
I actually thought they were blowing it out of proportion. I didn't really believe it was going to be this bad, but this is worse.
City workers are acting quickly to remove waist-high snow piles off of the city streets so that Boston residents can move on with their everyday lives. By Saturday afternoon, people began digging out as citywide cleanup efforts continued. People found unique ways to get from place to place with large amounts of snow on the ground. Suffolk University students wondered how the weather would affect the school week.
I think a lot of kids might not be able to make it in on Monday, considering we have such a large commuter population, and if this is how much snow we got out here, I'm sure it's way worse out west.
The university opened on time Monday, and students returned to class. Commuters made their way into the city despite the conditions.
For me, it was okay. It was a very big inconvenience for me, but I think overall I was able to come to school. However, I wouldn't be able to say if it's the right decision, just because I do know there's some students who had a really difficulty time.
Those who couldn't attend class were told that faculty would be understanding. Jared Pelletier, Suffolk U News. It was created as a class project, and the 2 Suffolk students say they had no idea the group would become so popular so quickly. Co-founders Joel Edwards and Funsho Ojuri say they have been getting a lot of positive feedback and are prepared to continue on with the project until changes are made.
Everyone always complains about it, but you never see anything about it. So when Boston Stay Up started around February 1st, we were doing it for a project, an advertising class.
Boston Stay Up was initially a classroom assignment. Now, it is a fully functioning social media group with more than 400 followers on Facebook and Twitter. The group aims to have the MBTA extend its hours of operation, but they aren't the only ones who would like the T to run later.
Well, I live all the way in Brighton, so when I'm trying to get from Boston to Brighton, especially this area, it can get really expensive to take the taxi home.
The T stops running at approximately 1 a.m., which isn't late enough for many of the city's students, workers, and businesses.
To the city because people want to go out and have fun, or people even have to work, and if they work, their shift could end up at 1 or 2, and their chances are they're taking a taxi or walking home. In other cities like New York, even DC, they don't have to worry about that.
Support for an extension of service hours is growing, but the MBTA says it can't consider an extension due to limited resources.
The T needs additional funding just to operate the way it is now without raising fare or cutting service options. So I definitely, that is a valid argument. You would have to find a way to allocate funds in a specific way to get it to work.
Boston Stay Up believes despite the financial situation of the MBTA, changes can be made if the public shows support and helps to generate ideas. Suffolk University students will be trading in bathing suits and flip-flops for hard hats and work boots, taking part in community service-based alternative spring break trips.
I do it because it's fun. I do it because I want to genuinely help people. I do it because I'm addicted to seeing other people be happy. I'm addicted to helping the community.
The program is coordinated by Souls, Suffolk's organization for uplifting lives through service. This will be the biggest alternative spring break effort in school history.
We have 144 students going on alternative spring break this year, and they are going to be tackling issues such as poverty relief, LGBTQ related issues, environmental issues, community development issues.
Funding a program this big can get expensive, making fundraising that much more important.
That's the best way to allow a lot of students the opportunity to go on these trips because they do cost a little bit of money. I won't say a little bit, a lot of money. I'll be honest, they do cost a lot of money, so the fundraising helps that so much.
Fundraisers like this Oreo cookie eating relay race, where contestants race to lick, dunk, and eat their cookies the fastest, help to generate funds in a fun way. Alternative spring break participants like these behind me will be leaving for their destinations on Sunday, March 10th, and will return to Boston on Saturday, March 16th. Jared Pelletier, Suffolk U News.